Howdy and welcome. This is the Reverend Beefalo Bart, and not very awake right now. Was up really late last night and relatively early. So what I want to talk about today is just a few little things that I've touched on a few other videos, and all I've done is I've just created a little sample map here for playing around with things. And I get a lot of questions on little things here and there, and I want to cover a couple of them. So first off is, and I've talked about it before, of adding in background music, background sounds, and was going to prepare this for Friday the 13th. It's the name of the project that I'm working on. If you don't know what the project name is or where it is, it's in the upper right hand corner of the screen. But adding in background music or background sounds can make your level not seem so boring. When you go in there, if there's no sound whatsoever, it's just bland. So you got to have something. And in this case, I put in some spooky-ish music and some other sound effects here, plus these little brown sections. Whenever you walk across the grass and you step into these, they'll play a sound effect. And these were for a mix of other things, but for people for creating things for haunted house or things of that nature. So those are just basic sound things you can do. And what I wanted to do also was create, since I got two more of these pads set up, I'll use this one and throw in a few visual effects as well. Now, whenever you're setting up things, if you're trying to just set a feeling in your maps so that a player feels like they're in a scary environment, then you need to add sounds to it. You need to add other things to it as well. Since we've got two sound emitters already, let's take a look at those. And all I've done is I've gone in here and created my assets folder, audio, got blueprints where I've actually created the just box collision to tell it to play the sounds. I've got some music that I brought in from TechnoAxe. I've created a couple sound cues and also created a sound attenuation, and that one is hidden right there. So the sounds, all I did was I went to Google and I did a search for free scary sounds or free gunshots, or there's a lot of places online where you can get free audio, free images and so forth. So we can add our sound effects in, and that's pretty cool. And all you're doing is, when you go into the blueprint, is you're telling it to on component begin overlap with your box collision, and that's all we've got is a box collision. Cast it to your third person character or whatever your player character is, and then you want to target and get the world location. You want to play sound at location, and you want to use your attenuation setting. In this case, it's my scare pad attenuation. So with the attenuation, what that's going to do is, whenever you come in here and what's going on, welcome. So when you're on this sound pad, it's going to be loudest right there in the center of it. But the farther away you get from it, the attenuation is going to make the sound drop off and go away. So you're not sitting there flooding the entire map with the sound. You're actually just playing it right there at that location. And the sound attenuation, essentially when you create one, it's just a matter of right click and then you go to sounds, and you can create your sound cue, which I use quite a bit. But sound attenuation, when you go into it, this is pretty much it. You're setting the type of attenuation function, the shape, whether it's a sphere or a cone or whatever, so you can focus the sound in a certain area. The inner radius where it's going to be the loudest is going to be this part right here, and that's 300. So yeah, this was my Friday the 13th broadcast that I held off on because I had too many other things going on. That 300 radius, 300 units from the center of that is going to be where it's going to be at full loudness. Then you have your fall off distance, how far away it's actually going to then fade away. Then the enable volume attenuation, it's going to manually adjust the volume the farther away you get from it. So yeah, and you could do a lot of other things with spatialization and air absorption and listener focus and stuff like that, but that's something for you to experiment around with. What I'm going to do is, since we are using a project that I created with starter content, inside your starter content you're going to have particles, and those are, and you do have some audio as well, and blueprints. Blueprints are primarily already set up to house things like that, but we're going to create our own materials, but we're going to focus in on our particles. Now, most of these, like the explosion, is going to be an explosion particle. So what we can do is, like this one right here, we'll set up as an explosion, and then we can set up sparks. We can set up some steam pretty much anywhere. So we can grab the steam and we'll throw it here. It's like smoke, but it's not quite as thick. And then we'll actually grab smoke, and I'm just going to drag it into the scene just like that. So now, as soon as we hit play, we can see that we have the steam, which is going to be more of a white color, and we have the smoke, which is going to be the black color. So if you want to add something burning, I would say use the smoke. If you want to just add that foggy effect, yeah. So yeah, that's that. That's those effects. But let's go ahead and create for right here. Let's create an explosion, and this is something easy that we've done before as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here, go to my blueprints folder that I've created. Actually, let's go to assets, and I'm going to create a new folder. I create lots of new folders. I'm going to call this emitters and blueprints for the emitters. Being organized isn't a bad thing. This is about the only place that I ever am organized. So we're going to create a blueprint. We're going to create an actor, and we're going to call this explosion pad. So I'll go into that. We're going to add a component, which is just going to be a cube. We're going to resize this cube to 2 by 2 by actually, let's go to 0.1. So scroll out. It's a nice little thin pad we can step on. We actually want to raise it up by 5 so that it sits on top of the ground. And then we want to add in a box collision. Now the box collision is going to be invisible, but we know that we can do 2.5 by 1.5 1.5 by 1.5 by, let's go 5. That's all we really need, because we want to step on it. We don't want to create this huge box above us. It's part of the Sunday services is more of a mix of throwing out individual features or services or whatever you can do to your maps and your game to just improve them. It kind of goes hand in hand with the creature game stuff, but it's more focused in on the little things instead of trying to be hard fast about the direction of building our games. But these are things you'll be able to use in that as well. So we've got our pad, and we have our little collision thing here where we step on it, it'll actually trigger something. So let's go ahead and go to our event graph. And as always, I start off, I just delete all these things and start from scratch here. So right click on our box collision, and we want to add event, add on component begin overlap. And we're going to go ahead, since we're on a base project, I didn't do my normal setup. We want to cast to third person character. And from there, what we're going to do is we're going to not really get anything from that character, but we're going to go ahead and grab a reference to our box collision. And I want to get world location, so I know exactly where we are in the world with this. And then from that, we want to spawn emitter at location, and we can go ahead and drag our location to that. And then I didn't want to spawn dialogue, dum-dum. Spawn emitter at location. Alright, so then you can go ahead and do that. You can change your rotation and scale as you needed, but we already have the explosion is there. But I also want to add some sound in there because it'll be quite boring without sound. So from here we're going to play sound at location. Again, we can grab our location and drag it across there. And we're going to go ahead and find our explosion cue. Click the arrow, open it up, and I'm going to use my attenuation settings for the same one so that we can localize the amount of sound. Hey, welcome, Jay. So now all we've done is we've got an event off of our box to say on component begin overlap. And just to be odd, let's go ahead and compile and save that. We'll show how it's going to work. I'm going to drop it into the map, and then what I'll do is I'll come back and I'll add a little bit more to it. So let's walk down our little narrow street here. So every time we get into this box, it's going to play that sound and it's going to spawn that emitter. Now you can actually go in there and on the emitter, if you want to adjust the scale 10x on the scale on that, but let's go ahead while we're in here, let's go ahead and right click on our box again, add event on component end overlap, so when we leave it we can actually share this information right here. So I'm just going to drag it over here, and we can actually use the cast to third person character, so we know that our character is the one that's actually going to trigger it. And we want to, let's go ahead and spawn another emitter, just because. Let's get our location, and this particular one we're just going to spawn smoke to come from it. Yeah, this was the Friday the 13th episode that I was going to record on Friday, but yeah, I had some new stuff that that was dropped into my lap that was worth my time to actually work on it. I'll actually cover some of that on Wednesday. So we got these two emitters. So now we walk in here, we've got a much bigger explosion, and then we have smoke coming away from it. So yeah, trouble is the smoke's going to stay forever until we actually leave the level. So that'll be something to work on later for actually turning off the smoke. But yeah, those are those things. And if you got any questions about the setting up sound emitters and stuff like that, and triggers and whatnot, then just jump right in and ask. They're really simple and really easy to do. And apparently there was some confusion on some of, and I know you guys probably may not want to hear it, but BSP geometries. There were some issues where some people were having some issues with the BSP geometries. So I just want to touch on that for a few minutes. But you guys just jump in there and ask questions. So I'm actually going to save all, and I'm going to create a new map. When you're creating your assets for making your own static meshes and things, this is the process. Create a new level. You can add delays and stuff like that, and trigger time wise, but create a default, dump this. You can grab all of these things here that are hovering up in the air and drag them underground, get rid of them, take your player start. You can do whatever you want with it for right now, but you grab this floor piece, you get rid of that. On where the untitled shows, want to create a folder, map, stuff, and you want to put all this stuff inside there so you can start off clean and fresh. You go to your landscape, you come down to the number of components, and you want 1 by 1, and then create. Go right back to your placement tab, and with this selected, you want to select your landscape and set the Z height to 0. Okay, now the reason why you want that to be 0 is if you're going to be making static meshes, this is going to help you to build them and place them on a 0 plane so that you can actually start doing things. And then go ahead and do a lighting build, get it over with, and then save it as your test map or whatever you want to call it. And at this point, doing a lighting build is going to take very little time, but just do it, get it over with, be done with it. So we're just about done with our lighting build. So there we go. And now you want to go ahead and save current. Save it to your maps folder. We're going to call this our test map. You can call it whatever you want, but you just want it to be there and saved. The reason why you want this little small area, is because when you go to place something, and we're going to work with BSP geometries, you grab a box and you throw it into your scene, you can come over here and go 0, 0, 0 on your XYZ axis. And you always work from 0, 0, 0 so you can easily set up your coordinates. But also, with no textures on the ground, you notice that this dark square is 100 units by 100 units. And thus breaking it down, if you look, there's smaller tiles. There's actually 10 little smaller squares on the inside. So those are 10 units each, whereas these big squares are 100 units each. And you can sit there and use that, because we know now that looking at this is 200 by 200 by 200. And I still see a lot of people out there when they're saying, well, why doesn't my BSPs look like this or whatever? They're using this transform tool right here. No, don't do that. Do not use the select and scale objects, because when you do that, you're stretching your object out, and you may be making it however you want to. But look, that's still 100 units across by 100 units. So this is 200 by 200. We've just stretched it out so big that if you try to put a material on there, it's going to look like crap. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to scale. So unscale that puppy. And if you want it to be that big, use your brush settings right here. These brush settings are how you actually make your size adjustments to what you're doing. If you notice, the red leg there corresponds with X, and there's a little compass right here in the bottom left hand corner of your view screen that knows that if we're going this way, we're adjusting our X value. If we're going this way, we're adjusting the green or the Y value, and if we're going up and down, then that's going to be our Z. So if I want to make that as big as I had it before, I can actually come over here to my X, Y, and Z, and let's change our X value to 600, and then we're going to change our Y axis to 800. I'm actually going to make this a little bit bigger. So let's go at 1200 by 1200, and we're going to make our Z axis at let's go with 800. Now, I just made it 800, but why is there only 400 when I'm on the zero axis here? Our Z height, we want to take half of our Z from our brush setting and put that into our transform location. So now that would be 400, and now we see all 800. Let's move our player back just a hair. So we've now created this big box. So let's actually make it even wider. Let's just take our y-axis and make it at, oh, I don't know, 1800. Just a little bit wider. And then let's go ahead and click the hollow button right here, or the checkbox. And now what we've done is we've taken this giant box and we've made it hollow. And now we can grab another box, drag it in here. Now we know that everything's set for zeros. We can do 0, 0, 0, and that puts that box right here in the middle. I'm actually going to raise it to 110, and I'm going to change it to subtractive, and I can look, my X value is going this way, so I want my X value to be 15, and I want my Y value to be 120, which gives us a respectable opening for a door. So we just drag that into the wall, and there we go. We have just created the beginnings of a house. Now, you notice I have not turned on one feature, world settings. You need to make sure you select your third-person game mode. And now, hit save all, make sure everything is good, and you hit play. Now we can see we have a door going into our house. We just need to adjust the height of the entryway a little bit. So I can click back on my brush 2, and let's go ahead and go back to our details, and let's put it at 100. So we want to split the difference at 105, and now we have an entryway going into our house. So it doesn't look like much of a house because we don't have any windows and we don't have a roof. Well, if you want to put a roof on, let's go ahead and add in the sides of our roof. So the easy way to do this, and this is where it was getting into confusion for some people, I'm going to grab a box, I'm going to set it up here, and I'm just using a standard box. I'm going to set our axis to 0 so it's lined up, and not worried about the rest of them just yet. So what I want to do is I want to adjust my Y to the same thickness as the walls on the inside, and then we can actually drag this up next to the edge. And that should be 895 should put it right there. And now we know that we can, gee, if we forgot, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's 1,000. So let's go ahead and make our x-axis to 1,000. And actually we had it 11 or 1,200. So now we want to make the peak of the roof. So here's where you just click on geometry editing. Click here and here. You want to select both of these 2 points. Okay? And we want to drag that over. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we want to get it really, really close to being at the edge. So I'm going to put it right there. And then you see we just reshaped it over to be that way. And now we can come back over here and select these two. Select that one and do the same thing. I want to drag that as close as we can over here without going past it. And we could get it even closer than that if we wanted to. But now when we have those two selected, I'm going to go ahead and select these two as well. I'm holding down the control key, by the way. So now I have all 4 of them selected. I can grab all 4 of them, and we're at 200 high. Let's actually bring it up 100 more, so that we're at roughly 300. I mean, you can use the size of the boxes to show us how high we're going. A hexagon pillar is super easy. We'll do that next. So now we've got the side of our building. Go back on placement tab, click off, and then we'll grab this, Control C, Control V, so we'll make another copy of it, and we're just gonna mirror it over here. So for, like, if you want to make the pillars for in front of your house, then that's just simply grab your geometry, grab a cylinder, and there, you got an octagon. But you can tell it however many sides you want it to have, like 5, or a pentagram, or 6, or 40. And then all you have to do is, like, just how many sides you want to have. If I want to have 12 sides, and I want it to be 400 tall, but I only want it to be 50 in diameter or 20 in diameter, make a column right down for the front of our house if we wanted to. So that's easy enough. So let's look at the inside of our house here. It's really empty. There's no second floor. So if I want to add a second floor, then simply just grab another box, and we want to 0, 0, 0 for sure. And then we want to set our X, Y, and Z to match closely to the inside of our house. We set ours to 1200, so we need to actually set it to 1180 to compensate for, I'm sorry, 1190. So it'll go from wall to wall, because the inside diameter is smaller by 10 than the outside. And then we had 1800s for our Y, so it should be 1790. Yep, it puts it right there and there. And then we want to go ahead and set our Z height to 10. And now that we've done that, we can actually bring our floor for our second floor up. And you want to allow typically 300 to 400 is a good average for each floor. So if you want 300, and if you want it to be 350 exactly, you can count the little blocks in between. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a little bit higher, but you can do like 360 on your Z here, and that will put you exactly at 350 height for here, but you're a little bit taller here. So I'm actually going to bring it up to split the difference, and we're going to have roughly 400 for each one. So we walk in and take a look. Yeah, I avoid using the regular static meshes whenever possible. There's reasons to use them and there's reasons not to use them. But if you're going to create your own static meshes for things, this is the easy way of doing things. So now we've got first floor, second floor. We just need some stairs to get up there. And I'm going to show you the process that I use again for my floating stairs. So we want the stairs to kind of go up, and let's put them right in the center of the house. So I'm just going to come out here, create a linear stair, drop it into the map, and actually drop it inside the house. So now that we've dropped it in here, it doesn't go high enough. So do we need to add another set of stairs to try to make it work? No, we can actually just increase the number of stairs. Let's try making it 15 stairs instead. Still need more. Well, we can actually go all the way up to 45 is the max that I've seen. So you can just keep doing it this way, or you can slide the bar across. We're probably going to need roughly 20. And what you want to do is you want to see that if it's poking through up here into our second floor, and it's not quite poking all the way through, so that's good and bad. So if we change our step height to 21, you can see that it's actually poking up a little bit. So we're going to leave it at 20, but we need to go ahead and create an opening for our stairs. So I'm going to grab another box, and I'm going to 0 and 0 and 510 it. We're going to make it a subtractive. We need to make Z height 15. You can make it 11 if you want to get even closer. So let's drag it into our floor so we can see we're cutting a hole in our floor. Slide it around. We want it to stay on our 0 because our stairs should be on our 0. So now we just need to make it bigger so that we can actually use them. So let's set the red, which is the X, to about 600. And just bring it on over. We want to go too far and then back it up because we want to see where our stair ends so we can bring it to that point. There we go. Now there's other tricks you can do to try to match that size better. You can go up to, I think, 30 on your stair height before it actually becomes a problem. So it's a problem for your character to be able to walk smoothly up and down. So that's nice, but what if we want to walk underneath the stairs? Well, a little trick that I do here is I go to my linear stair that I just created, and I hit Control C and then Control V, so I make a new copy of it. I remove the number of steps down by 1. So we're at 20, we're now at 19. And then what I want to do is I want to slide it back a little bit and make it subtractive. And there you go. We just chopped away the bottom of the stairs. So now if we come in here and play, we can actually walk underneath our stairs. Do you really need to? No. But what if you wanted to have another set of stairs going down here, going into a basement area? Then you're kind of screwed unless you actually have the ability to go through here. So by doing that, you create floating stairs. If you wanted to put a wall here, it's just a simple matter of grab your cone. Now this is also looks better if you're wanting to not see the stretched materials. They will, each stair height has its own material height, and it just kind of looks junky if you ask me. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this box here, and then I'm going to go back into sizing it to fit from here to here on my x-axis. So let's try 600. We want to go all the way to the wall. In fact, we can use that floor that we got here, and let's try it at 750, and let's see what happens. So with that 750, we can come over here. We're going to cover our complete stairs. And we need to make sure that we are at 0 here. So we're the same on both sides. Let's look at our stairs again. Make sure that yeah, see, they're not zeroed. They need to be at 100. So negative 100, because the stairs are 200 wide and the selection arrow is on the left hand side of it, so we have to kind of make note of that so we can center it up correctly. So what we're wanting to do here is we want this box here to be just a tiny bit bigger. So let's actually set our Y from 200 to, we'll say 201. We just want it just a hair bigger so it hides the side of our stairs. And now we can go back into our geometry editing. We're going to grab this guy, and we're going to get down low, and we're going to drag it down. We're going to bring it down all the way down. Let's actually bring it up as we need to, but if we wanted to, we could actually just create this, the bottom of the step, and create kind of a side border effect. So now we grab this corner and this corner, and we're going to drag this up. But the problem is we're going to have to create another solution to our problem here. Let's move it so that it does that. We want to actually get it to where it's not in the stairwell at all. So we want to move it back, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab all 4 of these. And let's move it back so that we're actually at the bottom of the back of the first step. I blame you guys. You let me do it in the wrong spot. Now we can grab here and here. So as we're doing it, we are covering up the sides only. Now we can actually grab these guys. We can do this, and I'll show you how we can actually make this longer all at the same time. So we just need to drag this over to here. Now, we want to continue this here all the way to that wall. So, so why not? Let's extrude it, and bring it out to the wall. We went a little bit too far, but that's all right. You can sit there and keep extruding it, which we don't want to do. I want to go back to edit mode, and we can grab these four corners. We just want to move them back just a hair. But that's what we did, is we extruded out the back of it. So now if we come back into play mode, let's actually go back to that and look at it. What we've done is we've sealed off the sides of it, and we've extruded the side out and added another box on there. If you're worried about the materials not lining up correctly, you can actually click that face, and you can still see the material of nothing behind it, and we have the ability to adjust it left and right and up and down. Oh, I went too far, so let's go the other way. And I can adjust it to where I can match up the texture. And let you play around with that on your own, but you can change the arrow here and use this tool right here to actually manipulate your material so that you can actually take a little time and line these both up. Why do I match them? Okay, grab my starter content, grab some materials, and if I grab this face right here and I throw on the concrete tiles, and I do the same thing on this one, so we can try to get them to match so that we have one continuous material. So here all I want to do is just line it up. I can do that, and oh, wrong direction, and I went too far. So now I can take some time and line up my materials so that it looks nicer. You want it to look right, don't you? You could also come in here, left click on one of the faces, come down here to geometry, select all adjacent surfaces, and then apply your materials. And now every one of your sides that you have on this particular item will be that. So you see, then all it is a matter of coming back over here and nope, I don't want to do that. I want the wrong way. And then just a little bit of touch up, and we line up our materials, and it looks like it's all one piece now. Same thing for our stairs. I can come over here to my stairs and do select all adjacent surfaces, and I'm going to give them a nice oaky wood look to them. Now, where you're going to see issues here also is each step you can actually, well, I don't want the wood to go that direction. Okay, so you can scroll down and you can rotate 90 degrees. You can select them. I don't want to select all because I'm okay with it on the front of the step being that direction. So I can just click, control click, control click, control click, and go through that way. And I can change all of my stairs over to change the rotation of my material by 45 degrees, 90 degrees, or a custom amount. Where that'll actually come in handy is whenever you're laying out these materials, they're all going to be lined up perfectly. And that kind of sucks because it's going to look like ass. So to make some variations to it, like we did over here to line up our materials, you can do the same thing to shift your materials around so that it actually then has a little bit different appearance to it, because you can see the materials all line up perfectly on these stairs, and it just looks awkward. So you can actually click on that face and, you know, click it over by a 16th or a quarter. Just do a random number of button presses for each one, and just kind of randomize the appearance. So now whenever you look at the front of these stairs, the first couple ones that I did, just by moving them around a little bit, it took that looks like it's on tracks. You can see there's looks like lines going up the stairs, but the first couple stairs don't have that appearance now that I've changed them. So like the flooring, you want to apply the floor, click on just the face that you want to work with, and then find whatever material you want to work with and left click on it, and left click over here on element 0, and now we just added a nice tile floor. If you want to do the same thing with your walls, you can pick one wall at a time. And a comment was brought up to me about what if you don't want this wall to go all the way across with the same material, and even on the second floor? Well, we can go ahead and apply a base material to it, and I'm just going to use basic wall, white walls. It's going to look absolutely horrible and bleached out, and yeah, just terrible. Outside of our house, well, we definitely got to have a brick texture, right? We got to have a brick house, right? And by not using this stupid select and scale transform, our material is consistent and the same all the way around, and it's going to look so much nicer. Now, there's one thing you can't forget. When you're creating these openings for your doors, you're losing your materials there. So you click on it here, you're actually getting that invisible box brush, and you want that invisible box brush to be the material that's actually inside here. And again, this is where it would be good to go ahead and use your transform tools here to be able to fix your stuff. So I'm going to actually right click, actually left click here, and select all adjacent surfaces, display, and there we go. You'd want to go ahead and turn and rotate and stuff as you need to fix your textures, because you can see this doesn't line up with the brick on the outside. So you would just want to make little adjustments, and it's the little tiny things like this that will make or break the looks of your map. Is when a player walks in, if you're doing a multiplayer game and a player walks in, they're going to see those little things, and the little tiny bits of attention to detail will make the difference. So again, these walls are absolutely just horrifically white, and I'm going to go ahead and, I don't know, put oak texture on the ceiling and on the floors. It's just going to be a tacky house all the way around. So with that, now if you want to add a little bit of color and so forth, like this will burn your retinas out white. A little bit too plain, and that's just going to get boring as well. So what I would suggest doing, if you want to add a specific wallpaper in, if you have an image in mind, you can actually go in Google and search for wallpaper designs, and then doing a Google image search, find one that you particularly like or dislike or whatever else. You can actually find the pattern, and this is actually a terrible pattern, but I'm going to see if I can just dump it right in here. And if you pick out one that you want to utilize, this is very 80s chic here. But I'm going to grab this particular one, and I guess I could bring it on screen so you guys can see what I'm looking at. We're going to grab this wallpaper design here. We're going to right click on it and view image, and then right click on it again, save image as, and yeah, give it a different name. And then I can actually close that up. And where the hell did my browser go? Get your ass back over here. You do what you're told. So now you can go to the location where you just saved it to. Put it in my new shit folder. And just drag it in. So now, just that quickly, I've gone from, you know, looking at an item on the you can actually make it into a material. Let's try a couple different ways. And this is the one we just grabbed off of YouTube. We just grabbed a texture. And let's go ahead and save all. Now, how hard is it to make it into a material? Well, you right click on it and you create a material. And okay. We just made a material. We're going to open up material now and look at it. Now it's going to be plain. You can do a lot of things with that material. I'm not gonna. But now I can click on this wall and I can select my wallpaper material that I just made, and there it is. And yes, it is going to go all the way up and down. But this beats the crap out of having bland white walls. But if you want to change an individual portion of the actual walls, which, let's take a look at this beautiful wallpaper. Isn't that sexy? Isn't that so much better? The other option is if you want to create something, it's the same effect as if you want to add a painting. I'm going to look to see what I got here. And it doesn't really matter what image that I'm using. Oh, let's grab something here. Doesn't really matter what we're going to use, because we're actually going to grab this M4A1. That's lovely, isn't it? So we're going to take that, we're going to save all, and we're going to right click on that, and we're going to select Sprite Actions, Create Sprite. Now we have our sprite. I'm going to do a save all again. I can actually drag this sprite into the wall, and you can actually use this same technique to create a wallpaper effect. So now if you want to stretch and pull and do your torturous resizing, go right ahead. But you can actually come in here like 1.3 is too small, 1.4 close enough for government work, and we'll do 1.1 for the Z height. So you can actually use that same principle to create a simple wallpaper system. So now whenever you walk into your house, you've wallpapered one wall separately from everything else, and there you go. And if you get any glitchy like that right there, where it's like the image is flickering, just click on your sprite, and it's set at -895, which puts it right there on the edge. Let's do it to -894. It'll bring it away from the wall just a little bit, and you'll get rid of that glitchy look to it. So you can actually apply a sprite to a wall to act like a wallpaper effect. So instead of having our nice lovely custom wallpaper that we just did, we can actually change in one individual. Yeah, this is like 80s chic here, man. This is my. But does your granny have an M4 plastered on her wall though? She would be awesome if she did. So that's just a quick way of doing a single wall where you're not actually howdy and welcome back. So you can actually do one part of your wall instead of the entire wall. But you guys are totally not digging this lovely 80s chic wallpaper. But you saw how easy it was to create that wallpaper. I went to Google Images. I found a texture that I liked or that was suitable, and then I saved it to my hard drive. I copied it directly into by dragging and dropping directly into Unreal Engine 4, and I right-clicked on it and I made it into a material, and then a couple of clicks later, and I've wallpapered my entire house. Well, love your granny then, I really do. The Skippy door block. Well, Skippy the Clown is a little bit too fat, and, well, the clown that I have for the game version is actually a little bit too fat. He won't fit through the door, so. The regular Skippy's too tall. He'd bump his head on the door. Hello, that was a view of Manny that I didn't want to see. You see how we have an issue here. We can see through the stars, and that's because of the this box collision here that we used to create the hole for the floor. We need to apply a material to it. First off, select all adjacent. We want it to have that same matching color here. So let's grab the face, select all adjacent, and apply the material to it. And this is the top two of the stairs. We want to actually apply that there so that we kind of camouflage that. Yeah, I had some comments about having problems building a house for an upcoming video series for somebody else, and let's actually close this back and let's do a quick save all. And where we were at just then before is we created the top portion of the house with that nice lovely triangular shape, and now we want to go ahead and put the actual roof sections on top. So it's going to be just as easy. I'm going to go ahead and click away from my materials because I'm using everything right now without materials. Don't necessarily have to, but that's just the way I'm doing it. And grab me a box. Now, the easy way to do this is to create the side from here to here and then make a clone of it. So what I'll do is I'll do 0 and 0. We'll leave the 900 height, that's fine. We want our Z height, we want it to be thin also. Let's try for 5 for the height of the shingles. And we know that we want to split it in half, which should be 600. So we'll start with 600 on our X. And our 1800, we need to make 1900. We want to overlap the edge a little bit. So now we can slide it over here, and that looks perfect, right? Oh, no, we actually got to rotate it. I remembered your name, even though I'm old. I know you weren't talking to me just then, but still. Alright, so it's not going to match up perfectly, so we turn off our snapping here, and we can manually take a look at it and kind of eyeball it, get it close. We can actually make some adjustments here as we need to. Say if we did 28, but we want to keep making adjustments to it, and we can drag it down and get it closer. You can see our initial distance is not right either. We need to add a little bit more to it. So now we can have a little bit of overhang to the roof. So we want to line it up best we can with the apex, the top of the roof. Would you get back up here? I didn't tell you you could not be in my view. Close enough. So you want to spend some time to actually line it up so that you don't have any gaps there. And really, you're too short still? Well, that's going to be good enough. We just want to make sure that we're good up here on the apex, because we don't want to have the peaks of our roofs overlapping each other. So remember, we had a little bit of a flat spot right there anyway. So now I can grab that and make sure that set this to -300, which should line it up perfectly, and 0 here, and 950 here, and then I can Control C and Control V, make a copy of it, and then do 180 for my rotation, and change that to 300, and that's it. That's our rooftop. Naturally spend some time getting it lined up perfectly, but so if you want to add some texturing to it, your materials to it, again, you can create your own, but I'm just going to go ahead and use something for short term, so we just get something on it. So there we have created the basics of a house with no windows. The perfect house, right? House with no windows. And we have an M4 plastered on the wall. We have a second floor with some stairs. We have some beautiful, gorgeous wallpaper. I absolutely love this wallpaper. We put some floor tiles down, and while we're doing it, we might as well go ahead and throw some grass on the floor. And there, we've created a perfect house with no windows. Yeah, if you want to add windows, it's just the same thing. You add your box in here. Average size for windows that I like to use. Let's scale it up, and first off, we want to be on the wall material that we're using. You can select that and then create your box, and it's very classy. It's very 80s classy, retro, chic, whatever. So whatever material you have selected, when you actually do it, it's going to bring your BSP geometry in. I mean, if you have it as concrete tiles and you drop it in, your BSP geometry is going to be whatever you had selected for your material. So if you want it to be that gray box, don't have a material selected. X15, Y 150, and Z200 is, yeah, that's fine. We'll make it subtractive. Why the heck is YouTube not refreshing automatically? I'm not dropping any frames, but YouTube is not catching up with me in streaming here. So we'll just drag that into the wall. And there we have an opening. So again, me and my symmetry, I gotta be 428. I don't like 428. How about 450? Let's actually make it 500. How about that? So now whenever I do Control C and Control V, and it ignores me, so I have to click off of it and back on it again, Control C and Control V, I can then set it back to, why do you do that? negative 600 and negative 500, and we've just done that. So now I can grab both of them, Control C and Control V, and now we want to do that, and we just created windows in the back. And now if we select all four of them, Control C and Control V, and now we can make windows for the second floor. And just that easy, we have created windows in our house. Of course, none on the side yet, but oh well. So that's our house. You know, if you wanted to raise everything up, you could do that. Yeah. Add glass. Well, here's the thing. This is the size of our subtractive that we've created. Let's actually find the one for this window. Right here. And we made the X, Y, and Z at 15, 150, and 200. So all I want to do is now I can select my glass, and we're using box brush 10 as our example. So I've selected my glass as my material. I'm going to drag a new box into the scene. It's glass, and I want to grab the dimensions from this. 15, 150, 200. So 15, 150, 200. Now, that's not the actual dimensions we're going to use, because we need to make this thinner, because the glass is not going to be that thick unless you got some heavy bulletproof stuff lining your house. So I'm going to actually make that into 5, which is still a little bit thick. So let's make it 2, make it really thin. Now, this is not destructible glass. But the next thing you want to do is you want to change the Y to 149 and your Z to 199. Now if we look at our actual transform locations, negative 600, let's actually, well, I don't like that, so we're going to leave it at 190. It's going to be off a little bit from the rest of the windows, but I should have made sure the height was perfect before I did this. So negative 600. So we need to match that. Negative 600 and negative 500. No. 500. And then we would need to match our height, which was 190. So let's try that at 190. And that'll put it in here. You need to look to make sure. The reason why we took it down by 1, because if we left it at 150 by 200, it will actually stick itself into the wall. We actually need to move it back a little bit because we're sticking out. What will happen is if you have it sized just, I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but between the wallpaper and the brick, the glass is actually cutting a hole into the wall. We're just trying to split the difference on this. So to prevent that from blowing a hole through your wall, you change your Y and Z for your window to 149 and 199. Reduce it by 1. It's not enough for you to see light around the window where the glass is, but it will eliminate the fact that it's tearing through your actual material. So now we actually have glass on this window, so we can't jump through it. There's still a ledge there for some reason, but I don't know if you guys can see the glass or not, but it's got the reflection. But that's simple little glass. Now that looks really plain for a window. I wouldn't leave it that way. I would actually take the time to create a windowsill, the lining for the windows, and I'm not going to get in depth into that, but you could actually just create a series of boxes and shape them however you want to in order to make your windows look more professional. The more time you spend creating these things, the better. But all the stuff that I've put together is great. It looks nice. You can actually get in here interface with it, but you could also save a lot of this stuff or the entire thing as a static mesh, and then put that static mesh into an actual blueprint and just rapidly just slap these things into a map. And you can create an entire city. I mean, literally create an entire city in a very small amount of time. Like this. This was done with polygon assets, and 1/4 of this corner was completed as a static mesh, and I could just pop down 4 of them, rotate them 90 degrees each time, and I created the entire effect of having that set up. Creating entire cities, I mean, you can get carried away, so you have to use a little bit of sense, which I don't. Let's see if I had a picture here. Yeah, see, some of these are that I want to show you guys. I can't show you guys because they're top secret, secret squirrel classified from the current game project. So I'm trying to find some stuff that's not exactly, yeah, since I have no idea what that is. Yeah, I want to show these, but I'm not gonna show any teasers. Wednesday there might be some teasers. Just saying, you know. Oh, and by the way, this is the Skippy the clowns that I'm using. One on the left, one on the right. How costly is it for computer? If you're referring to like your level of detail and how it's going to affect your performance, then it depends on the computer. Honestly, I don't have very many problems with my computer in drawing and referencing and things like that. I'm not saying that I have a really super high-end computer. It's just that I have a decent video card. I have at least 16 gigs of RAM. I don't know. I don't want to show the real picture of Skippy because you know, I pick on Skippy. He's good people, love him to death, and I tell him he looks like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. Oh man, so many pictures I want to share, but I know I'm just being a tease right now. This was just gonna. This is a terrible way of doing it, but these were horrible earlier works that I was doing. That just to showcase that you don't have to have fancy assets to be able to create stuff. You can create your own stuff with using the same techniques that I'm showing here, and you can make not just houses and stairs and little stuff. Yeah, you're talking Ryzen and no. I'm using my CPU is an 8350 AMD Black Edition, 8-core CPU, and I'm running 16 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM. And yes, there is a difference between DDR3 and 4, and 4 is not always better than 3. If you plan the right memory with the right motherboard, with the right processor, with the right everything else. I knew what I was going to be building, so I built around that and built around a budget. I'm using 3 32-inch monitors. Are they monitors? No, hell no. They're Samsung TVs. Samsung is a good brand. These are good model of TVs. They're not smart TVs. And yes, they're only 60 FPS or 60 hertz. I don't care. Half the time my glasses are so dirty that people wonder how I see the frickin' monitor to begin with. I blame my grandfather from that. It was his trait. You know, rest his soul. He never cleaned his glasses, so I take that from him. My video card is a, and I've mentioned my system specs before, but my video card is a EVGA 1060 6 gig superclocked edition. Is it superclocked or overclocked? Hell, I can't remember. I'm old. But yeah, it's a 6 gigabyte 1060 GTX 1060. But the combination of all the pieces parts together, I can run 5780 by 5760 by 1080. I can run all three monitors as a single panel with 5760 by 1080 mode and run any game I've got. I mean, I can run GTA 5. I can run on Ultra. I can run all these things with everything cranked up because I'm limiting the output of the video to 60 hertz. I can still get a really good, clean looking picture. I mean, hell, if I were to, it was a video that I posted a while back. I can't get OBS to and YouTube to display 5760 by 1080, but yeah, whenever you're playing games in that kind of resolution with three 32-inch monitors sitting this close to you, I mean, I can reach out and without straining, I can just barely touch the center monitor. But when I extend my arms out to the left and to the right, I can't touch both monitors at the same time. I can only touch one or the other. The width of my monitors is just under 7 feet wide. And you're talking about, being that they're 32-inch panels, I mean, realistically, the height of each panel is just over a foot tall. So, that's a pretty good way to play games. Yeah, see, that's where people get into the thing, well, of PC wars, of this is better than that. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. And it's not that I'm trying to be rude or anything. It's just that my system works for me. It works really well for me. And I know there's a lot of people out there who are trying to game on potatoes. And they're trying to do Unreal Engine 4 on potato computers. And some of these people can actually do some really, really good work on those potatoes. And honestly, that's like I'm saying, my system works really well for me. And if you plan your system correctly, you don't have to spend a buttload of currency to get it to work correctly. So you can actually build a decent computer for under $1,000 that'll do everything that you want to do. And then you get the people who make the console arguments. You can talk about consoles all day long, and I'm just going to say nothing, let you do your thing, because I don't care about consoles. I'm old. I don't have any consoles. I'm not going to buy any consoles. I don't do consoles. I don't do the controllers. I don't even care about them at all. People ask me about our main project. Are you going to release it on PS4? Are you going to release it on Xbox 912 74? I don't know. Don't even care what the models are called. And the answer is probably going to be a definite no on release, for sure. And do I really want to do them on consoles? Not a bit. What? You don't like my wallpaper? That's some sexy wallpaper, man. And that's custom. You don't have that wallpaper. You're just hating. That's all it is. I'm the only person in all of Unreal Engine Kingdom that has this wallpaper on their walls. Probably. Maybe. But yeah, it was just done as an example. Hey, I'm old. I dig grannies, man. You don't know that. There. That wallpaper is much better. How about that? Or if we really want to be really cool, then we could, let's see, where is my textures folder? And for my UK brothers and sisters, I got to add that in there as well. Because I don't want you guys to feel like there's no love. And we'll create that as a sprite. And we'll create that as a sprite. There you go. I know somebody's going to be happy at that. So let's actually change the height to 0.6. Hey, that's a pretty good guess. Actually do 0.66. Probably gonna stick through a little bit. Yep, it's all right. 0.65, and then we just adjust our width just to her. Zero it up for one, and 894, and let's go with 0.8. Nope. 0.9. We'll make it 0.94. Nope, even better. So there, we just created a lovely UK wallpaper. But, you know, we got to have American flag too, so. Oh, that's backwards. Can't do that. And all we're doing is just scaling them back down. 0.6, nope. 0.8. Ugh, that's too big. 0.75, close enough for government work, and then 0.5. Getting close enough. So you get the picture. So you can quickly throw in some class in this joint. American flag, UK flag, good old-fashioned M4, and some granny wallpaper. All right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't get into the politics thing. I know that there were some bombs flying and some hatred growing, and you know what I gotta say to everybody in the world, to make a quote that's used by the Mighty Jingles quite a bit. It's only a game. Why you have to be mad? Yeah, everybody's playing the game in their own different way. So I'm going to leave this for any other questions. I still haven't finished my first cup of coffee of the day. Any questions before we conclude the Sunday services with Reverend Beefalo? Remove the ledge and one window with glass. Well, I made the glass, so it's there. How did I get into game development? I got my first computer, which was Radio Shack Color computer TRS-80 back in roughly 1983. And I've always, been into playing games, but I always played games and realized that, this part of this game sucks, this part of that game sucks. So I started doing mods and creating my own games and things like that. And things just kind of progressed over time. And I just I felt more enjoyment instead of playing a game. I got more enjoyment actually making the games. So I figured, what better way to do it than to actually create my own game instead of constantly bitching and moaning, complaining about, well, I wish I could do this in this game. Well, how do I recommend starting? Hanging out in groups like this where, you can talk to people and ask questions, and doing this. Starting with a new project and opening it up as blank, and I'm not going to give it a name because I'm going to delete it in a few minutes anyway. Starting with Unreal Engine 4 is probably the easiest way to get started into game development, and learning the ins and outs of it. You're never going to play another video game the same ever again. And how do I recommend starting? Like this. You start off with a blank project and you just look at it. Well, what do I do next? Well, what do you want to do? And that's why I do on Tuesdays and Thursdays the creating a game from scratch. And there are live streams like this where people can jump in, ask questions, and kind of get over those fears of what they're trying to do. And, the Paragon stuff was fun to work with. They're more of a pain in the ass than anything else. And I say that, yes, you can retarget them and get the animations working, and you use all these assets and everything else. But to use them in a way that I want them to be able to be used, they're not suitable for use. And they're uncooperative and unresponsive. I can't have my way with them the way that I wish to. So if they won't bend to my will easily, then I'm not going to mess with them. Somebody else on my team can mess with them. I build the core stuff and I go from there. So I'm not really worried about the Paragon assets. I have people to do that for me, and that's their part of their contributions to the team. Mine is to build a core of the game. And building a game, first off, like I said, you're never going to play a game the same ever again, because excuse me, you're going to get into a game and start playing and you realize, God, the shader on that is terrible, or that the collision box is horrible, or you're going to start recognizing the elements that make up the game. These things are floating around in the air. This is the sun. This is your source of light, your light source. Well, what happens if you start screwing around with that? And that's what I recommend. Just start screwing around with something. And let's rotate it this way, and let's rotate it straight up in the air. What happens if we rotate that arrow straight up? Well, we set all the rotation factors to 0, and then it's pointing this way, but screw that. I want it to go straight up 90 degrees, and let's go ahead and build our lighting on top of that. What happens? Screw around with it. Get into a blank project where you're not going to screw up anything. Don't create a project and name it my game. This is my game. This is what it's going to be called. No, because you're going to screw it up, and you're going to end up deleting it, and you're going to have to remake it from the ground up again, and you're going to have to call it the same name again, and yeah. So just get a blank project, screw around with it, figure out what you want to do, but do one feature at a time. Don't try to do the entire game all at once. If you want to make a menu, make a menu. But let's go ahead and add content to this. Let's add a feature and content pack. Let's add third person to it. There, we have a third person template added in. You want flying, first person. Yeah, see, and that's it. If you got time to sit down and screw around with this, then do it. I mean, have some fun and learn one thing at a time. Well, what do I want to do today? What do I want to accomplish? Or what do I want my character to be able to do? And the reason why I'm doing this, the how to build a game from scratch deal with UE4, is getting people in the right frame of mind saying, okay, start this way. Forget about assets. I'm going to tell you this right now. Okay? Forget Paragon assets even exist. Don't bother downloading them unless you really want to, but don't bother downloading them. Don't bother opening them. Don't even get them. Don't even have them near you. They're distractions. Because if you sit there and you download them and then you look at them and you don't realize what you're doing with them, you're just going to make yourself confused. You're going to get angry and you're going to walk away from the whole thing. Don't even bother. Yeah, if they're confusing now, delete them, get them out of your site. Don't screw with them. They're not important. Always go for function first. Make your game work, then start bringing in the pretty stuff. That's why there's a lot of pissed off people about my project and the Paragon stuff and me showing videos of gameplay and everything else. And that's because the majority of my stuff right now, there are no assets. The assets that are in my game, I made myself using BSP geometries and static meshes that I created for placeholders to get the functionality of the game working. I want to make sure that my NPCs are routing the correct direction, or my if I'm doing anything with an animation, I might rip all the animations out of the Paragon stuff and put them on a UE4 mannequin and just start from that. I don't care about how pretty the Shinbi is or Phase or whatever else. They don't do anything for me. They're not actually going to be in the project until the last little bit. I mean, I have no use for them whatsoever until I'm ready for them. So I hope that kind of, yeah. Squash bugs. If you start putting all those assets into a project right now, do you realize that you're going to load up about, I don't know, 70 gigabytes of hard drive space into a project that's only going to confuse you? So forget about assets, forget about asset packs, don't add anything in. If you're going to get anything, and this is just purely a recommendation for one particular project. If you want to get anything to start off with, I would say look at the Cinti Studios stuff, the Paragon, not Paragon, the Polygon stuff from them. Not their simple stuff. Simple stuff is just a little too simple. But if you look at the Polygon stuff, like Polygon City, Polygon Heist, Pirates, Knights, got them all, except for the latest two. But I can take the same project we're in. I just called it my project, and I can grab this asset pack here and add the project. And the Polygon City is probably the one I suggest getting first if you're into more modern things. And if you catch it on sale, it was like $10 or $20, whatever, it's worth it. If you're going to get an asset, look at something that's going to be easier to work with right off the bat. And the Polygon City stuff, you do have some effects. These are low poly, and they're going to be easier on your system when you're first starting out. So building stuff, you want to create a city with all kind of cool buildings that are already set up with, you know, collisions and everything else. All the different pieces, parts for making these buildings. You know, City Hall, or the bank, or for whatever you've got. You've got all the pieces, parts to make your city. Characters, you've got. I know you guys have seen me use these characters before, but they're rigged to the Epic Skeleton, and they work. They're easy to manipulate. Environmental things, you know, I can add flowers and fences and bridges and streets and, yeah, props. You know, I could add street lights and all the little pieces, parts that I would need to build a functional map are there. And like, I can go into this demonstration map. Now there is one issue that I noticed with the city pack. I'll load this demonstration pack asset, and I'll show you what I mean. Don't save. I didn't do anything to that map. Leave me alone. Okay, this is the first time adding it to a project. I'm going to have to compile shaders. While it's compiling shaders, I can zoom out here. I use this map quite a bit for my shooter demo, just for testing combat systems, because look at it. I mean, it's a complete city. I mean, everything you need is right here for setting up a, whatever you want. So while it's compiling those shaders, we'll sit here and I'll leave this view on that. But there's cars, there's people, there's buildings, there's little small stuff here and there. But even still, I say when you first get started, don't bother worrying about assets at all. Learn how to make your own assets with BSP geometries, because if you start getting into a need for, we'll say, a cave system or whatever, if you need something in specific, take the time to build it yourself. If you have the ability to do it, do it. Push yourself, push your limits. If you stop learning, you stop living. Learn something new every damn day. I mean, seriously. But yeah, this is the asset pack that I use as the primary for the and YouTube is acting funny again. I'm not dropping any frames, but YouTube doesn't want to refresh. Because I'm watching so I can see the chat at the same time. Because you guys should be on my Discord chat instead of the YouTube chat, but Alright, shaders are almost done. If you do decide to get the Cinti Studios, the Polygon City map, City pack, which that's what this is, this Polygon City. One thing you have to remember, unless they've updated it in a recent update, which I haven't checked in about a week or two. There's links all over the place in my my YouTube channel about my Discord channel. Beefalo Bart Gaming, 3 words, on Discord. I mean, seriously. There's invites all over the place. Let's see here. Well, they try to complicate things, but yeah, there's links that do not expire in my actual link here for the video. Oh, well, I don't use a phone for anything. In fact, I don't even know if my phone's even charged right now. So we'll check my world settings and game mode override. Let's set it to third-person game mode. And then if I click play, well, there is no player start on the map, so it just starts from wherever you are. I'm like, oh, that's a really cool van over here, so I'll walk over here and look. They seem to have forgotten to put collision on the frickin' roadway. So as soon as you step off the sidewalk onto the frickin' road, you instantly fall through the world and die. Well, fall forever. So what you end up having to do is you have to go to the environments and find the road, open it up, like, oh, pretty, and then go to collision, and you want to add a collision to it, and that one wasn't even visible. Let's try why are you not showing any collisions on here? It's showing a complex collision, but we can actually do that. That should have a collision on that road piece. Worst case scenario, if you can't get it to act correctly, you come over here, scroll down, collision, project default, change use complex as simple, and save. And that's the fastest way of doing it. Is you end up having to go through every single one of these textures for the roadway and change your collision defaults. Because what ends up happening is, like I said, as soon as you get out here on the map and you decide you want to walk across the street, you fall through, and that sucks. So you have to go through every single solitary one of these and change the collision, hit save, and open up this one, scroll down, change your collision, hit save. What can actually speed up the process a little bit is when you double click on it, you're not going to look at the LOD, or general settings. You can collapse some of the other stuff so that only this is visible, and then click there and save. So yeah, you'll have to go through every one of these road sections and change your collisions over so that you don't fall through the world. But other than that, it's a really good asset pack. If you build your own shooting system to where you've got your guns at work or whatever else, and that's fine, this is a great way to test it. But I'm tell you what, there's so many inexpensive, cool asset packs that are out there and assets for you to choose from in the marketplace. Don't get wrapped up in buying assets until you know what you're actually looking at. The majority of the assets are made by people who have really good intentions. They make these assets and they work awesome for them, for what they're trying to do, but it may not fit what you're trying to do exactly. So therefore you're going to end up scratching your head looking at it like, well, I want it to do this, so you have to make changes to it, and you're making modifications to it. If you spend $100 on an asset system and have to immediately do repairs on it, and I've had to do that with a couple of them that I've got my hands on, a asset pack directly from the marketplace that was not functional, that I had to make edits to. The latest of them was my character, whenever playing with their asset pack, and I try to walk through a door, I can't fit through a door because my character just bonks his head on the top, and I can't get through a damn normal doorway. Like this right here. I could actually go a little bit farther in, but I can't because the collision, the way it's set up on that. You could actually, if you wanted to, you could change that. We know that's a subway entrance. You could find that subway entrance. Like this one right here. You could actually go into it and look at the collision and see where the collision is. And you can see where the collision stops right there. If you wanted to, especially if you're just goofing around on your own, you can change simple to complex and then go back in and play again. And now you can walk all the way in here, as if it really made a difference to walk an extra foot. But yeah, you get these really awesome things. And the problem that I was having with that character on that one particular one, oh, and it's better. The first time I got my hands on this before the update, the version 1, it was so bad that it was a shooting system that when you aimed, the bullets weren't hitting where you were aiming. They were just like off. You had to like aim at somebody's feet from 5 feet away just to get it to shoot in the right direction. I had to spend 2 hours modifying their asset pack to be able to get it to actually work. So it's kind of dumb to spend $100 on an asset pack and it not work out the batch. And then with the new version of it, the problem that you run into is you have this big collision capsule that encapsulates your player. Well, these numbers are wrong on that other one, so they're too high. What happens is the distance from your head to the top of the capsule, it actually creates a collision point, and now you can't even walk through a doorway. So you have to modify it by changing the dimensions of it, and next thing you know, now your feet are sticking to the ground. And so I end up having to redo so much of their stuff, but they have a lot of cool stuff in it. It's worth it in the long run to make that fight, but you have to pick and choose your fights on that. So you're gonna get into that asset thing. Well, I've got $20 here's this, I'll buy this one, like this right here. Little things like occasionally a player will get stuck walking on the transition to the grass portion of this or to right here, and it's kind of annoying. But yeah, if you spend so much time fixing their screw-ups, why didn't you just make it yourself? I mean, seriously. I mean, and just like everybody's talking about, well, I want to make a first-person shooter. If you want to make a first-person shooter, do not select that first person. If you ever plan on bringing multiplayer into your game, do not use the first-person template. Even if you want to make a first-person shooter, don't do it. Use third person. Use the third person every time, all the time, forever and ever, always. But old fat guy, I really want to have first person. I don't want to be a third person. I don't want to look at the back of my character as he's walking around. I want to see through his eyes. Okay, so do that. Go into your third person character, and all this lovely stuff, ignore it. Don't care about any of it. Not right now. You go to your viewport. You got that big old camera right there. Well, let's click on our mesh. Let's go ahead and add a component, and let's add a camera. We're going to call this FPS camera. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off auto activate. Then I'm going to scroll all the way back up again, and then I'm going to, with that camera selected, the parent socket, I want to socket that puppy dog to the head. And now you have the most awesome freaking chin camera. I mean, seriously, how awesome is that? Oh, anyway. So then you can use your transform tool for rotate. And you can rotate that puppy dog up 90 degrees. And now you can, if your little asshole will stop moving, rotate it 90 degrees. And this is where it's annoying as crap, because his head's bobbing around and moving now. So you can turn off real time. And now, even more annoying, I'm going to go and select my transform. I want to move it. I'm only grabbing in the yellow the axis this way. But occasionally what will happen whenever I want to try to fine tune it is it will actually start moving in 3 axes at one time. So we want to leave that at 0 and 25 and 0, but we actually want to bring up the X value to about 5 so that it actually is close to looking through the eyes itself. Okay, and then we want to, before we click anything else or do anything else, we want to use pawn control rotation, and that's fine. And we're not done yet. We're going to make this switchable. We're going to switch between first person and third person. I'm going to go to Edit, Project Settings, and then select Input and Action Mapping. Hit the plus sign, and we want to View Changer Thingy. Really professional term. We want to have a View Changer Thingy. So with our View Changer Thingy, we want to set that to keyboard and scroll down to V as in Victor, V as in video, and now we can just go ahead and close that. And then we can go to our event graph, and I'm not using VR, so I'm going to highlight this stuff, get rid of it. I'm not using a gamepad, so I'm getting rid of that. I'm not using a touch input, so I'm getting rid of that. And this looks dorky sitting all by itself over here, so I'm going to move it there. And then I'm going to come over here, and then, yeah, it's past my nap time. It's almost lunchtime, so you've seen some of this stuff anyway, so you know what's going on. So we want to type in view changer thingy. So there's our official view changer thingy. And we want to get out those stylish footwear, the flip-flops, and we're going to shove that right there. So now when we hit our V key, we're going to flip-flop between two different things. And the first thing we want to do is we want to disable, or excuse me, deactivate, or learn how to spell D-E-A-C, yeah, deactivate. So we want to deactivate our follow camera. We want to turn that camera off. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this over here. I'm going to grab the follow camera thing and just kind of shove it underneath there. So we're deactivating the follow camera, and now we want to activate the FPS camera. So we'll just shove that here, grab that, shove it underneath there, and then when we hit the V key again, we want to, and we're not done yet, so we want to deactivate the FPS camera, and we're going to go back to our, you guessed it, follow camera, so we can activate the follow camera. Now, the reason why I said we're not done yet is because what is going to happen is, yeah, delete, repeat. That's the best way to learn. Some of my tutorials, the Virtus tutorials are awesome. I recommend doing the Virtus tutorials, like the RPG tutorial and the FPS tutorial. Do them both, even if you don't care. Do them anyway because I said so. Do it now. Bye. See you later. The Virtus tutorials, I would say do the RPG tutorial and then do the FPS tutorial. But when you finish with one, delete it and do it again. And then go to the other one, get to the end, finish it, delete it, and do it again. By the time you've done them both twice, you'll be pro, I promise. So yeah, the reason why I say we're not done here, we're activating our camera back and forth. So let's actually go in here and play. And okay, I can pan around. This is the same thing we had before. I hit the V key, and now I'm looking through the eyes of the player. But now I'm looking at the eyes of my player. So we don't want that to happen. That's just weird. So we hit V to go back, and everything's normal. So that works. So to be able to have the correct rotation, so while we're doing this, what we need to do is always be clean and be neat and be organized. I like the way that looks, but we're going to leave it like that. What we need to do is, if we look by clicking on third person character, and we have this thing right here, use controller rotation yaw. I'm going to enable this right now, and then compile and save, and go back in here and play. Now, whenever I move my mouse around, my entire character moves. And to me, I don't like that. But when we go into V key, now I can look up and down, and my character moves around, and I can't look at myself anymore. So that works that way. And it'll work for this as well. It'll be okay, but I don't want it to be like that. I want to have a little bit more control. So I'm going to uncheck that, and I'm going to manually make reference to it. So what I can do here is I can drag off from this, and I want to use controller rotation yaw. So I want to set use controller rotation yaw. I'm going to quickly Control C and Control V to copy and paste that in. So now whenever I switch to my first person view, I want to use it. And now whenever I hit V key again and go back, If you don't want to switch back and forth, then you can just delete the follow camera, delete the camera boom, and create a follow camera like I did earlier. Just delete these two. But what I did was I now have the ability to run third person, and where I think it comes in handy for gaming wise is when you're running around in the map. It's cool to be able to see what you're doing and that kind of stuff. But I think that whenever you go into a combat mode, it's like, okay, I'm drawing my weapon, bang, now I'm into first person mode. Yeah, the mannequin that I'm running around is the default mannequin. So when you create a project, then you're going to have that feature anyway. And it's listed as the third person character. So if you're going to make a first person character, forget this button right here will exist. Ignore first person. Never use that one. Never, ever. No, don't even bother. Don't even look at it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it, I promise. If you create a third person template, it is just that easy to do like I did. Now the asset packs, all the city around me, no, this is not free. I think it's like $20 on the marketplace. Well worth it, but again, stay away from asset packs until you're good enough to work with them. But now I can go to the V key and I can have a first person view. If you want first person view, then just enable this. You can see your feet. Now when you decide you want to do a multiplayer and you're stuck with a first person, all your players are going to see is a set of arms holding a gun running around, and it's just not going to work. So by doing this, you're running around as the third person character. You can see your hands and feet, but by having both, you can switch back and forth as you so fit, as you see fit. And to end this video off, I have to create something that I do all the frickin' time. It doesn't matter where I'm going to put this because I'm going to delete this project anyway. I'm going to create a blueprint class actor, and I'm going to call this stupid. I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to add a component of a cube, and I'm going to make this 2 by 2 by 0.1. I'm going to change my Z height to 5. I'm going to compile and I'm going to save. I'm going to add a component of a boxed collision, and then I'm going to resize it to 1.5 by 1.5 by, oh, I don't know, 5. Seems good enough. You guys know what I'm doing. Compile and save. I'm going to go to my event graph. I'm going to grab these guys. I'm going to get rid of them. I'm going to right click on my box, select event, add event on component begin overlap. I am going to actually drag off from the other actor, cast to third person character, and then I want to grab off from here, get world location for the mesh, and I just want to drag it around until it's pretty. And then I want to launch character, and we're gonna just be goofy. We're gonna our launch velocity we want to change to, oh, I don't know, let's just set it to 2,000. That's going to be fun. And then reason why we got our world location is, and actually we can do that. Forget about the other characters. When you upload a character and it doesn't have a texture on it, then it wasn't packaged correctly. So you're going to have to import the textures and then make materials out of them and apply the materials to your character to the appropriate slots. I'm going to spawn. Oh, I don't have anything. We need to come back over here, add new, add feature or content pack, add our content pack, start our content, add a project, because we need some sounds. We need a sound and we need a an emitter, so we can make a little noise when we hit this thing. So it takes a second to install the starter content, so it adds like another 800 megabytes to your project. Come on, hurry up. I ain't got all day. Actually I do, but I don't. Alright, that's done. So go back into our stupid and we can spawn emitter at location, and the emitter I'm going to use is p_explosion. Grab return value of my get world location, and scale, we're going to scale it up by 5, and then we're going to play sound at location. We're going to do the explosion cue, and we want to drag from our location again. There's a lot of nonsense just for this, but you know what? Nonsense is fun. And yeah, let's actually turn the volume down from volume multiplier 0.5, half the sound volume. Don't have the attenuation settings in here because who cares? Nobody else is going to see it. So yeah, let's compile and save, and let's throw a couple of them in the map here. Okay, this green patch sounds good, and let's throw a little stupid into the map. Now, what this actually does, that I just created this little bit of stupidness, is a way of throwing a character up in the air. So if you're playing and you just want to have a good goof-off map, this is a good way of doing it. So, okay, I can use this to jump to this building. Well, what if I set one right here? Can I use it to jump to that building? And it'll throw me up into the air, and I can land. Nope, a little too short. So you see what I'm getting to here. I've created this one here. I can use it to jump to this building, over here, use it to jump over here, and if it doesn't quite make it, then you know what? You can try a different approach. You can use it to jump over to here, and over to there. You can make a game out of just jumping from area to area. And you could also go back into your jump pad and change the 2,000 to 3,000. Yes, you can get a little carried away. If you do like 10,000, it'll launch your ass into orbit. So now if I run and jump on this one, not a problem. There we go. So, yeah. Well, then if I do that, I can do this. See, the problem is the collision on this building is off. So you're actually going to have to move this up to here. So yeah, that's just a little something you can screw around with. If you guys want to see on the creating the game stuff, I can actually do, as much as I hate to do it, I could actually do a little bit towards importing, but I don't want people to get carried away with assets. Like I said, assets will get you in trouble. Yeah, so just that little simple thing of adding this the jump pad in here. Imagine what kind of game you can create with just that, without this lovely city. Make your own city, or download and buy this pack from Cindy Studios. But I mean, even if you just save all, not because I'm doing anything with it, but you can create a new terrain, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a new level VR basic, and you can actually utilize this, and I'm going to stick one of my stupids in here, but I'm going to make a modification to the stupid launcher. And what we're going to do is we're going to move these two back a little bit. Top down. Only about 4 people on the entire planet use top down. Sorry. Top down game mode, I've never messed with it, but I don't see it being any different. I can create a project for, Tuesday and go from there. I'm going to add in a delay of 1 second. So when I step on this pad, I'm going to wait for 1 second. Then I'm going to launch the player. So now we don't have a game mode because I'm being in a hurry. Go to our world settings, set our game mode, third person game mode, and then play. Now when I walk on the pad, it waits for a second before it throws me up in the air. So this is how I usually end my videos, is me jumping up and down on one of these launch pads. But as you can see, we get the explosion effect and the sound whenever we land, and then it throws us up in the air. Bang! Imagine what you could do. You could build a game that's a platformer where you'd be, running around and letting it launch you from one point to the other. And I just did the X value. You can actually change the value to the X or the Y or the Z. And I just changed the Z value to throw me straight up in the air. So you could do all kind of stuff just with creating platforms and using this launcher system and creating custom blueprint with your launcher. And you could make a game out of that. Start simple. Make an easy game to where it starts off with something simple. The top-down stuff, it's all the same deal. It's all blueprints. It's all BSP geometries and terrains. They're all the same thing. Doesn't matter if you're on a top-down or if you're on a first-person or a third-person. But I would say if you're going to go with a first-person shooter, still use the third-person template instead of the first-person. So you have a little bit more flexibility with what you're doing. Because if you decide to do it in multiplayer, the first-person template is only a set of arms and a gun. And that's just not going to work for multiplayer. So, last call. We've been doing this for 2 hours. It's time for me to go take a break. But Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be doing a continuation of the building a game and going through the process of creating a game from scratch. And I'm only building it while I'm on the actual stream. I'm not doing any behind the scenes work on this project whatsoever. So you guys can ask questions and build along at the same time. So with that, while my dude just jumping up and down on my little launch pad, then I will bid you guys a lovely day. Check back in with my Discord. If you have questions, I have a channel in there. It is called Questions and Answers. If you have questions, ask them there. If you have general comments, you can just say hello and general conversation in the public lobby. But keep it clean. I'm not going to use bots. We're grown-ass people. We can moderate our own selves. I do have moderators in the channel, but just saying. Y'all take care. Catch me on Discord and ask me questions on the questions and answer, and I'll try to get to them as soon as I possibly can. Well, you guys have a good one, and we will see you guys in the next video.